was 12 years old when the world ended. Not by any nuclear weapon or asteroid strike or series of natural disasters. Nothing so dramatic. In fact, it didn't end with a bang at all. It ended with a whimper. Maybe if we had any kind of advanced warning, more of us would have survived. Maybe.
Yes. Welcome to another great show of APN TV Media. We have a lot in store for you today. As a matter of fact, Bob, before I get started, you have any news for us today in politics?
Well, Trump fired somebody else, and he's bringing another person in. So his cabinet's switching around, but you know that's the way he ran his business. So that's the way he's being president.
Well, is that because of Pompeo or something like that? Because I believe the person he's firing had to do with the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
And the first woman he just hired. First woman, how about that? And I don't remember her name, but it's going to be a woman.
I don't remember either.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember her name. I just know the guy got fired and he's bringing in somebody new.
But you know it's going to be a woman.
No, I didn't know that either. You're teaching me something today, Stephen.
Yes. So you know what? Everybody, keep your fingers crossed. Guys too as well. But I believe that Trump, even how bizarre things may be, but he did say one thing. Even though I was like, man, this guy's tripping. That he was going to bring chaos into the White House, disrupt it, because everything was too political and they were leaving out the economics or economical for those like us, okay, in society, no matter what race, origin, nationality, religion. It was his job, for some weird reason, maybe it's a God thing, hey, you know what I'm saying, to bring him in that position, even for him to turn around and say, you see how easy it is to become president?
Right.
You know, and we always said that ever since we were little, right? We always said that ever since we were little.
Yeah.
Anybody can be a president. You know, you just put your mind to it and hard work, but somehow.
Well, if Jimmy Carter could do it, anybody can.
Well, Trump sure did. And now we might have our first, and I believe it's going to be a woman Secretary of State, which is going to be interesting. Anyway, we have a lot in store for you today. This is great. We got another doubleheader. Okay, our first guest coming on the show, her name is, I'll call her Sister Pamela. Sister Pamela Dupree. You know, I call her Mom and Dad, Sister Pamela Dupree. And her husband, Booker, who is also, if I could say that, I could say pastor, can I? Assistant pastor. Okay, and the church? New Bethel, Church of God in Christ. And the bishop? Bishop Lance Lee Allen. Okay, New Bethel Church. I should know that. And those who are here in Monroe area, or the Michigan area, the bishop is Rance Allen. Yes. Okay, so we got assistant pastor, his wife on here. It's going to be off the chain. I'm going to love it because the book is titled The Eight of Us. And it's called The Eight of Us, Bloodline, My Bloodline. And hopefully I'm going to open a couple of extra doors about this situation, but it's pretty deep. Okay, so you know what, Bob? Anything else?
No, I think this is going to be a good interview. Real good.
All right, well, let's get this party started. I'll see you after these messages.
Good morning, my friends. In light of recent occurrences, I think that you'll find today's sermon especially uplifting. I know we have had our loved ones sacrificed in this ugly and trying time. There will be peace again, but do not fall into the grips of darkness. Do not become corruptible. Do not become the feast for death. Weakness is the serpent's plaything. For you will hear the trumpets come down. You will see the fiery sword from legions on high come down. Now is not the time for the lamb. Now is the time for the lion.
Welcome back. Yes, welcome back. And my goodness, how you two doing?
Fine.
We are doing great, Mr.
Oh
Hill.
my
How
goodness,
are you,
the book you have, which I'm going to show here. Oh, I had to stretch this one out. It's called "The Eight of Us: My Bloodline." Okay, by Pamela Dupree Brown, and I'm sorry, Pamela Brown-Dupree.
There you go.
Yes.
Pamela Brown-Dupree. So I am going to open up a door here without looking at any papers yet. You know, the first thing I want to, y'all both are blessed. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, yes.
Both are blessed.
Yes.
I mean, you two are unique. I mean, firstly, if you see one, you see the other. Always, you see one, you see the other. And the, which we'll probably show on the air, the event, the book event that you had.
Yes.
That your husband orchestrated, put together. I have to give you credit on that.
Thank you.
I have to give you credit.
Thank you.
It was insane. That was beautiful.
Yes, it was.
That was beautiful.
Yes.
You know, it seemed almost like a family reunion, but you invited everybody to come.
Yes.
So the book event was just dynamic.
Yes, it was.
Just
It
dynamic.
turned out better than we thought.
Yeah. It was. We
Better
were
than we
blessed.
thought.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it went distance,
Yes.
nonstop. The line was, I mean, at the table to
Yeah.
sign autographs. That was extraordinary.
Yes, it was.
Extraordinary.
Yes, it was. Actually,
Yes.
it cut into the program. The people got so excited, they just got up and, because we took a break, and the people just jumped up and everybody just got in line. So we just let it roll from that point on. So it was awesome, and
Wow.
you did awesome as well.
Yes.
You touched a lot of
Yes.
lives just by you being there. You had a great impact on the program that we had for my wife. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
You're most welcome.
Okay, now we're going to get into something really deep. But I think it's not the nervous I'm sweating. I'm sweating because some of the questions I want to ask. Because see, this is a relative situation. You know what? I am sweating because I want to ask those questions. Woo! Because it's deep. When you do autobiography, it has a tendency to have a little wavery line to it that it gets skeptical. But I say that, you know, it's okay to do autobiographies. That's how I started. My first book was autobiography about my life. And I mean, nobody can tell you, no, you cannot talk about your life. It's got to be, You ever hear that? You always got to be in the closet, hush, hush.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we've had that when we were young. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of us.
Yes.
You can't tell, you can't say nothing,
Yes.
and then you get bottled up.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then there's no healing.
Right.
Exactly.
And sooner or later, you'll have kids, and then all of a sudden, you may lash out and say something and
Yes.
don't realize everything that was in you at that moment.
Right.
This also induces nightmares.
Yes.
Yes, it
At
does.
times it does, until
Yes.
it's relieved.
Yeah, exactly.
Until it's relieved.
Right.
Exactly.
You're right.
Well, see, I just throw that out there because now I think I feel better on asking these questions. Okay, since everybody can relate now.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the things I want to say as I'm turning these pages here is how did you come to write the book, first of all?
Well,
Matter of fact, not how did you come to write the book, why did you write the book? Because the book is intense.
Right.
It's humorous but intense. So
Yes.
why did you write the book?
I wrote the book because I used to go to counseling, and my counselor told me she said, if you write a book, I believe it'll be the bestseller. But when she said it to me at the time, I didn't really think about writing it because I didn't have the healing process that I have now. So now I just decided I'm going to do this. But the reason how I end up doing it is because I wanted a change in my life. So I started going to church. And once I started going to church, I felt a change in my life, and I just felt that I wanted to tell my story, to share with other people. Not just with women, but men too. Because the women talk about it, but the men don't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
True.
Very interesting.
True. Men has that macho type thing that
Yes.
the women don't have. Women, when they start opening up and they feel comfortable, it doesn't. They don't feel it take away from their femininity. But a man, a lot of times, he wants to show the macho side before he shows the feminine side of him. When I say feminine, I mean the sensitive side. Because a lot of men will not cry. They keep it bottled up.
Right.
And if they don't cry, they may go out. If you're not careful, you might see them away from everybody else hitting the wall with their fist or stomping their feet.
That's so true.
But nobody else is watching them, see? So they're releasing what they could have released in there without the screaming and hollering and the punching, stomping. They could have just talked it out.
Or they end up drinking or being on drugs. So you really don't know.
Yes, yes. And when I told you this is going to be off the chain, because I'm going to ask a question to this one, I'm going to throw this out there, because you just said it, because men does have a way to, that masculinity,
Yes.
or say over masculinity.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, alpha means male, but a lot of times we hear the word alpha, it sounds like dominant in question. So this is what I'm going to ask you about this. Okay, in your book, there was one incident, and that was, which I keep saying was off the chain, I kept thinking about it, was the car incident, about the guy in the car, and he was doing something crazy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Was it in the car?
We were in the
Oh,
car.
you were in the, you and someone else was in.
Me and my adopted sister.
Sister, yes.
We were young, maybe about 13, if I'm not mistaken. And it was her uncle. And we were out being kids playing, and he was sitting in the car playing with himself. And we didn't know what was going on, and we went and told. And the auntie came out and grabbed him and took him in the house.
He was drinking. And
He was a drinker, and that's what he was out there doing. We didn't know. We were kids.
But did he see?
He
you two?
seen us. We were sitting on the hood of the car.
Wait a minute. Let me get this right. Okay. While he's in there, acting out, maybe his I'm not going to say positive frustrations, okay? But I think there's something wrong in that in Denmark,
Right,
in that picture.
right.
But you two were sitting on the hood of the car.
We were playing, yeah. We didn't know what he was doing at first.
Yes.
And once we seen him, we were like, oh, we're going to go tell. And that's what we did.
What
we
did he do?
He couldn't do nothing because his wife came and got him and took him in the house and told him he should be better. Ashamed of himself for what he was doing in front of us.
So there was something wrong with him.
Something was wrong with
Wait a
him.
minute, you said his wife.
His wife.
His wife was inside while he was
In
outside.
the house, right.
See,
But he was a drinker.
yes, but that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, he's a drinker.
But there was something.
Something wrong with him.
Okay, now you.
So you don't know
Yes.
what done happened to him in his past.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes men has a tendency, and no matter what area in life or what direction,
Right.
we have a tendency. I mean, we all have a tendency to do something odd
Yeah.
that's not normal.
Right.
Because even in that position, to not stop from the mayhem inside the car to look at two young little girls that's
Right.
on top of the hood, something's wrong with that.
Right.
But to take another woman to turn around, which just happened to be the wife,
Right.
to say, you know what, come on, you know, you can't do that. You can't.
Right.
Basically, it was embarrassment enough. But she
Yes.
took
Right.
her heart. You know, she swallowed her pride.
Yes.
Went out there and got her
Right.
husband to bring him inside because. And I bet she had looked at you too while you were
Yeah.
out there, didn't she?
Yes, she did. Yeah.
Did she say anything at all?
She got on him more than us because we were just playing.
It was hurting her inside.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you see how the dynamics go?
Right.
Now all of a sudden, there's something that was passed on to other people now. Not only
Right.
to the image and the things that he was doing, but something happened to him where he got stuck in that mode and didn't know what to do, but he continued.
Right.
And then that part, whatever that spirit or whatever it is, passed on, went towards her because now she's hurt.
Right,
Yes.
And even though she had to bring him back in,
right.
okay, bring him in and notice you two sitting up there because there's a lot of repercussions could happen from that.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Because
Yes.
at your being at that age,
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
that she brought him inside.
Right.
We don't tell him what else she said to him or anything,
Right.
but there's something wrong with him.
Yes.
So you've got a pattern of a lot of illness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You do.
Illness.
Exactly.
Did anybody catch that? Anybody catch
Yeah.
that? In other words, you shouldn't be mad. I mean, we could be upset about
Right.
those situations.
Right.
But actuality, everybody at that moment needed help.
Right.
That's true. Everybody at that
And what Pamela's been saying here ties in with a lot of things that I've read. There's a book, and I'm trying to remember the authors now, but they wrote a book called Be Ye Transformed. And basically what they said is, you've got all this garbage that you need to get rid of,
Yes.
Right.
that you've
Yes.
hidden from yourself, that you've
Yes.
pushed down because of hurts you've had, and you know, you need to get it out there,
Yes.
give it to God, and forgive whoever hurt you,
Right.
and then you can get on with your life and not have
Right.
to deal with all these problems that
Yes.
you've got hidden within yourself.
Right. Right.
Very
And
good.
that can be a very difficult thing to do, because some of that stuff you're not even going to remember. You've got to think back and what happened here. and
Right.
Why do I act this way in this
Yes.
situation?
That's right.
Yes.
Can be a very difficult thing.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And she in her book says you got to forgive,
You do.
which is very important.
Right.
Yes,
You
yes,
have to forgive. You have to go forward so you can go forward.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so correct.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can do it. Yeah. Yeah. See, that's what we're trying to open that door in the healing process because it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And everybody that was in that position there, everybody was hurt by it. That was the whole point.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody was hurt by it, and they have to overcome even within them own selves.
Exactly.
And that's how you elevate and can come back together.
Yes.
And don't, remind somebody of oh, you bad or you wicked, this and that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get my healing,
Right.
okay, like you did.
Yeah.
And you had support.
Yes.
Yes.
Big support.
Yes, yes. And then that person can get their healing, the other person can get their healing.
Yes.
The whole thing about it is to let it out to get healing.
Right.
And I think that's what God would want us to be healed, right?
Right.
Most definitely.
That's
And like
right.
you say, and the other part is being transformed by the renewing of your mind.
One of you.
Yes.
I still remember a little bit of that. You know? I still look a little bit of scriptures in there. Also, now let's go to another. Part that I think is kind of more humorous also. You running down, I think it was, you was trying to get in the house, you had to go in the back, there was a dog or something.
Yes.
You can tell her like nobody's
Okay.
business. I kept picturing that. Go ahead.
Well, we lived in an apartment complex, and my mom, we weren't allowed to use the front door. So every day, I was in the kindergarten, so I would have to go around the back. And I would peek before I stepped out because he had chased me once before. And so I decided I was going to peek this time. So I peeked, and that dog was still sitting in the same spot. So I decided to go back to the front, go in the front door, and my mom would not open up the door for me. She said, "You got to go around the back." I'm a little girl, so I'm crying,
Yes.
you know. And I had to wait till that dog decide to move out of that spot to go through the back door.
Isn't that something?
And I had to run.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean,
Yes.
is it possible you can get in trouble for being late, but you got to explain, well, Mom, I'm not allowed to go to the front door.
I told her that.
Just to get to go to the gauntlet
but
just
she
to get
didn't
in.
care.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of that dog being back there for anyway?
I don't know. I really don't. But he was there all the time when I got out of school.
Did she know that the dog was back there?
I think, yeah, she knew.
Or she really
But
never gave
my
much
mom,
thought?
I don't know. Because I was a little girl, I just think maybe she was just mean. Because don't you care what happened to your child? Because the dog could have ate me up.
Yeah.
Then what? You had to take me to the hospital. You know,
Yeah.
so
Ooh.
I don't know.
But you made it.
I made it.
That
Yes,
was crazy.
yes, yes.
That was a little crazy thing.
Yes.
But
Every
you are
day.
home. You just can't go to the front door.
Exactly.
You had to
Don't
go
use
all around to the back where
To
the
the back.
dog's at,
Yeah.
and then try to sneak in
Wow.
past
Yeah.
the dog just to get in.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Man.
Wow.
Sure. And I thought trying to get in before the lights go out was bad.
No.
Yeah, see, another part is, you know what? Since I opened that door about the book, you tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, it took me a long time to write this book, and it's been over 10 years.
Okay.
So I actually, I wanted a change in my life. And with me going to counseling, I was in counseling for a long time, seeing a psychiatrist. When you go to a psychiatrist, they want you to talk to them, but they want to give you medication. I didn't want the medication. So, but I still went, but I always talked to my counselor more than I did with my psychiatrist because, excuse me, because when you go to a psychiatrist, you in there for maybe 10 minutes or less. And the only thing they want to know if you hear voices or do you want to commit suicide. And I refused to take the medicine. So from my counselors telling me, you should write a book, and I'm like, no, because I hadn't got over a lot of stuff that happened to me.
Yes.
And so I decided later on in life, and my life started changing for me for the better. And my family didn't know half of the stuff that's in that book. But I decided, okay, I'm going to write this book. And I started writing it, and one of my sisters from my church, she would write it down for me. I'm telling the story, but she's writing it. And it shouldn't have been 10 years, but I ended up procrastinating about the book. And I said, just 2 years ago, I said, I got to stop. I got to finish this book. It's something that I needed to do to finish what I've been through and to share it with the whole world. And that's what I have done. And I'm proud of what I did. And with the help of my husband right here at my side, that's how I ended up doing it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. You can wave out there to everybody because you're relatives and all that. And all that.
Friends and
Not just
family.
here in the
To me,
studio,
they're
but on
family.
TV too
They're
as well.
family
Yes.
to me.
It's that the first earmark to this in relation to open it up to everybody in the world is the fact that the relatives were willing, the majority of relatives that I've seen, even in the book, were willing to hear it.
Right.
Okay, even they may not wanted to, but they were willing to hear it.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it was very pleasant. What I saw and what I heard was very pleasant. That I mean, they understood,
Yes.
Right.
and that's even more healing.
Right.
That's why your event became very successful. It's because people were being transformed and healing were taking place there.
Right. Right.
Yes.
And you're not the only person who didn't get enough help from a psychiatrist. A lot of people go to psychiatrists and their problems get worse
Right.
because the psychiatrist can't heal them. Only God can heal them, take
Right.
away the pain, the suffering. And if they don't give it up and get rid of it that way,
Right.
a lot of times they end up worse off. And Sigmund Freud himself was addicted to cocaine, nicotine, and sugar. And I mean, besides doing cocaine, he smoked 36 cigars a day.
Ooh.
Oh.
And it took a lot of. This guy had to be wired all the time.
Wow.
And he's going to tell us how we should live and how we should solve our problems.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't know how people ever thought he was that good or what he said was that true, but I don't know. People just bought into it, and so. But it hasn't helped. In fact, I think one of the best examples I ever saw of a psychiatrist was when Harvey Korman played in High Anxiety. He played a psychiatrist, and when his last patient left, he had his nurse hang him up by the thumbs and break out the whip.
he spoke, he whipped a tape measure and a large round magnifying glass from his pocket. With these two implements, he trotted noiselessly about the room, sometimes stopping, occasionally kneeling, and once lying flat upon his face. As I watched him, I was irresistibly reminded of a pure-blooded, well-trained foxhound. Knowledge of literature, nil. Philosophy, nil. Politics, feeble. Botany, variable. Knows nothing of practical gardening. Geology, practical but limited. Chemistry, profound. Anatomy, accurate. Is an expert single-stick player, boxer, and swordsman. Silverton Audio presents the unabridged recording of A Study in Scarlet, written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, narrated by Marnie Young.
The world's greatest treasure trove sits in Vatican City, Europe's most famous locale. Because the Vatican is a walled, closely guarded fortress, everyone believes it is impossible to rob. Until now. From the author who brought readers the compelling thrillers Satan's Stronghold, Jericho's Trumpet, The Armageddon Virus, and God's Domain, comes a suspenseful thriller that will keep readers turning pages. A powerful Vatican cardinal is obsessed with becoming the next pope. A young idealistic priest discovers a Vatican conspiracy, plunging he and beautiful Italian gymnast Dorlina Aldonzo into a whirlpool of danger and desperation. American jewel thief Craig Reynolds has robbed jewelry establishments and wealthy chateaus all over Europe, aborting the most sophisticated security systems and vanishing without a trace. Now, Craig Reynolds will methodically manipulate the players and events to make the impossible possible. He will rob the Vatican. But will he sacrifice Dorlina Aldonzo, the woman he initially deceived, but now loves? Find out in this action-filled thriller novel by Robert Kelland, Rob the Vatican, available on ebook at www.robertkelland.com.
Both of you do. You know that the psychiatrists seem like, did anybody notice that the time frame to see a psychiatrist keeps shortening up?
It's very short.
Back then it used to be where, I'm a testimony to that one, you know, going to see about seeking help, because that's how it started when I first came here, which I'm forever grateful about Monroe, Michigan. Being homeless, didn't know who I was, and after 11 years and going there to go back to remember, you know, who I am. And the funny part is that every time they turn and look at their watch, they go, "Oh, time's up."
Yes.
And sometimes at those moments you'll be frustrated,
right,
and you want to get it out, but you can't because you were on a
Time's
clock.
Yeah.
Time's up.
And then it came to a point almost, 20-some years later, I noticed that their time is getting shorter, but their list of medication
They're
is getting longer.
Right, right.
How is that even happening?
Well, a part of that has to do with the fact that there's an FDA in place.
Okay.
The Food and Drug Administration was set up to oversee the pharmaceutical industry. But it's axiomatic in economics when the government puts an agency in place to oversee an industry, you get a revolving door between the two. The industry takes over an agency, and then all they do is protect the industry from competition. Well, that's all the FDA's done for about the last 60 years. So they protect the pharmaceutical industry from competition. They get those drugs, help them get those drugs out. And in fact, the FDA, the pharmaceutical industry, and some very wealthy people formed a cabal to get Hillary Clinton elected. If she had gotten elected, the price of those drugs would have gone up even higher. It would have been much more difficult to get natural products, and everybody would have been on those drugs if the doctors and psychiatrists could have gotten them on those drugs. That would have been, and they make the big money from the psychiatrists, the doctors, everybody. The pharmaceutical, everybody gets from the pharmaceutical industry money for peddling that stuff. That's what it's all about. It's just about money. It's not about anything else. They don't care what, they get you on that drug and they're making money. That's all they care about.
It's supposed to be a temporary fix.
Yeah, no, but well,
And a lot of times, like the Risperdal reversed. And you see these attorneys in them actually are going after the pharmaceuticals, you know, because the fact that it felt like we were guinea pigs to something like a test subject sitting in front. But I'm not knocking it. You know, thank God for the psychiatrist.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a start.
Right.
Definitely.
But from that point, once you get your mind somewhere to back at a certain point, then you have to decipher, say, you know what, like you say, going back to church, sticking with God. I mean, it's been real.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, from the pharmaceutical loses their money, but you gain a better interest in your health and in your relationship with God.
Yes. Right.
Now, I'm not trying to throw a twist here at you. I'm just saying that, you know, too much drugs become actually drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
well, and not only that, one drug you're taking, if it has side effects, which most of them do,
Exactly.
lead to your taking other drugs.
Right.
In other words, you get on a statin drug, okay, to lower your cholesterol.
Yes.
That statin drug is probably going to cause you to be on 2 or 3 other drugs in a very short period of time.
Right.
Wow.
So the pharmaceutical industry gets you on one drug and then they got you, because then that's going to lead to all kinds of other stuff.
It does.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Very good, Bob. Very good. You know what? Everybody, on that note, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. I want to thank both of you for coming on the show. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask one more question before we get off there. Okay. How is your relationship with the? You know what? Actually, I'm going to ask you your experiences now that with the missus and what she's been through, and how do you actually feel? Because I know your hand always like this. So even I'm going to throw it out there so everybody can know. I want your actual as a man, and a husband, a role model. You're knowing all this about what's been going on in her life, because I encourage you. The book is very deep. It is intense. It's humorous, but it is intense, and you can grab a healing from that. But I also want to share from the man's point of view as a husband. Okay. How did you feel? Honest opinion. How did you feel when she, just put the skeletons right there on the table?
For her or for myself?
For yourself.
Actually, for myself. Let me say this, our upbringing was totally different. My mom and dad, it was 13 of us, 8 boys, 5 girls. But my mom and dad, they were always there for us. They always protected us. They told us how to watch out for ourselves and each other. And then when I met Pam, and we started talking, and once we found out that we kind of liked each other, we started sharing our life, and she started opening up to me about her past. And Mr. Hill, I'm like, no, this couldn't have been happening to her, because my family was there to protect me. We was always watching out for each other, and she was telling me how she had to deal with the situation with her mother, her mother's lifestyle, friends that she was around. And I'm thinking, wow, is this real, or is she making some of this up? Because in our home, that was not even that would even looked at. You read about it, you see it on TV, you see it because you think maybe somebody's making this story up. But when she started getting intense and telling me about certain things, I'm like, wow, amazing. And I realized that what went on in our house wasn't the same in everybody else's house. Because when you're raised up as a child, you know life in your house. So you figure that's what's happening in everybody else's house. But it's not. And then when I came home one day from work, and she was in the process of doing the book. And I went to the bathroom, and she says, she was in the kitchen, and she says, honey, she says, can you come here for a minute? And so I said, okay. Come out the bathroom, go in the kitchen, and she's crying. And she said, can you hold me for a minute? And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? And it's like I heard a voice like the Lord telling me she's reliving what she's been through. And I was like, man. I said, baby, it's going to be all right. I said, all you're doing is reliving what you've gotten through. I said, it's going to be okay. And it has changed my life. I don't look at her any less than I look at myself. Yes. But I thank God that I didn't have to go through that. But then on the other hand, I thank God that even though she had to go through it, He brought her through it.
Very good.
And I look at it, we are two people that was always around each other in a sense, because when we talk about our past, we talk about the same people, some of the same people. My dad used to sell vegetables in Toledo. She described the station wagon that my dad used to, me and my older brother would be with him, didn't tell her about the cowbell. She said, that man had the station wagon, it was a burgundy color, and 2 boys, and one was, they was ringing the cowbell. That was me and my brother. So we were, as life went on, even though her life was different from mine, we still was in the same area of life. But she was seeing a different picture than what I was. And I just want to say to people that when you know that you are dealing with problems and situations that's not right, I'm on her side. Go get some help. Seek help. Because there's somebody out there that can help you.
Right.
I would love to see you start to do another book, and you'll be doing something pretty soon coming up. I know that, because you're into poetry and stuff. No, it's your blessing to have you on the show.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Hill.
a blessing
Thank
too.
you. No, you are
You're
a
a
blessing
blessing.
too. Thank you.
Yes.
God sent.
Everybody, thank you.
Change me, oh God, make me more like you. Change me, oh God, wash me through. A clean heart, so that I may worship you. Change me, oh God, make me more. Wash me through and through. Just create me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. I need you to change me. Jesus, change me. Like only you can, Lord, change me. Is anybody out there need the Lord to change something about you? Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to change me. Do it for me, Lord. I dare you just put your hands on yourself. Lord. Y'all remember this? Has come
Dreams of you and I that just can't be, but I can keep them safe and locked away inside. In a perfect world where I control it, give me your heart there and I would hold it. But I know that just can't be reality. But please, don't you wake my daydream, 'cause it's so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. If you said to jump, then I will do it. Right into the fire and walk straight through it. And if you knew, I bet that's just what you would say. I guess the only thing for me to do is never let you know just how I'm feeling, 'cause I don't want to know if you don't feel the same. It's a shame. Don't you wake my daydream, 'cause it's so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. kept safe and locked away inside. But don't you wake my daydream. Oh, so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. Don't you wake my daydream.